Okay, so I want to start a new project with a PDF file that I've been given. So I'm going to start my new project in Revit, again using the architectural template. To get a new blank file. And then the PDF file, I'll just show you, has the plans that I need, but unfortunately you can't insert PDFs into Revit. So what you'll need to do is open the PDF file using Photoshop. So with Photoshop open, you can just choose Open from the menu, and then browse to find your PDF file. So it's here on the P drive if you're in the college, and Brief 2, CAD for Interiors, Brief 2 Resources, and then Balmoral PDF. You have the file. And then you'll see, whenever you open a PDF with Photoshop, it'll give you options to convert that into a raster file. And it needs to be done to go into Revit anyway. So you have to have any vectors converted into pixels, in other words. So we've got to specify a resolution there. Usually 300 is okay, but if you find that it becomes pixelated, you can increase that resolution. So it's good to look at the file size there. I'll just show you. If I increase the resolution there from 300 to say 600, it won't double though. It's going to go up by about 4 times because it's double in each direction. So so watch out for that. Usually 300 is okay, but if you have to, you could go up to 600 for this one because it's not a huge file. So I'm just going to click OK, and then to see if that resolution's workable, I can zoom in, and well, actually, it's not fantastic. I think it was much clearer if we look at this. Yeah, let's just see. So we zoom in here, and so you can see there, I can read the text. It is a bit pixelated, but it's definitely, I think, slightly more pixelated now in Photoshop. So what I will do is re-import that. So I'm going to go to the File menu and choose Close, and say no, definitely don't want to save changes, and then go back to Open, open the file again, and try 600. And so now zooming in, yeah, that's a bit clearer. So I'm just going to go to Save As, and I suppose we can save it as a PDF, a PSD file. You don't want to save it as a PDF here, so PSD or even JPEG would be okay. But I'll just keep it as PSD for now, which is Photoshop format. And now I'm going to crop it. So I'm just going to use the crop tool over here and bring that in so that it just shows the ground floor. Yeah, exactly. So double clicking inside there will crop out the first floor, and then I can do a Save As, and this time I'm going to change the format to JPEG and give that a new name. So I'll call that ground. Yep. And the options here you can usually just leave on the default. And then I'm going to undo. It should let me undo, don't know why it's not. Step backwards, that's fine. And then repeat the process, cropping, but this time removing the ground floor. That should be okay. And then, again, Save As, again also a JPEG, and just change that name to first. Okay, so now back into Revit. I'm going to duplicate the ground floor floor plan, just by right-clicking there, duplicate view and then duplicate. And then I'll rename that ground floor image. And then going to the Insert tab, I can choose Image, and then go and find the JPEG file. Now it should be there. Where have I saved it? Oh, sorry, again, it's on the P drive. Got to go to the right folder. So that should be it. There we are, the ground floor. And so I'm just going to click to place that fairly randomly. Yep, but I'll need to resize that now. So we need to find some measurements here. And so you can see there, it should be, it looks like 2.75 across. So I'm going to measure that distance, those interiors there, or between those two walls. And you can see there it's not even close, so it's 22179. So it's about 10 times too big. So now to rescale that, it's fairly simple actually with Revit. You just need to select the image and then click the scale button, and then you can choose a base point. And here you've got to really use some judgment to work out which point to use, because the line there is blurred. So I'm just going to try to get the centre of where I think the line was, which is maybe just inside that grey edge there, and then coming across to the right, again trying to get to where the centre of the line was, because the line weight with a computer drawing is going to go either side of the line. So there, that should be about right. So that's the initial size, and then I'm just going to bring it back to make sure it scales in the right direction and type in the size I want it to be, which is 2750. Enter, and that should be now scaled correctly. So I'm just going to drag that to the centre, and to check that it's worked, I'm going to use the measure tool again and just measure between those two walls. Yeah, pretty good. And I'll measure some of the other spaces again just to make sure they're okay. Sometimes things aren't drawn perfectly, so you might need to redo it, but there we are. So 3, 6, it's meant to be 3.65, that's probably close enough. And here, so that probably is 1.9 in this direction. So, yeah, close enough. Okay, so I'm happy with that, so I'm going to select it. And then to keep it locked in that position, you can pin. So if you saw me import the AutoCAD file with the other project, that happened automatically. But here we've got to do it manually. So by selecting the object, you can just use the pin icon up on the modify toolbar, and that will lock it in position. So if I try dragging it now, it won't move. Then I'm essentially going to repeat the process on level 1, but I'm going to do a few more things just to line that up properly. So I'm going to duplicate level 1 and rename it just like the ground floor, level 1 image. Click on the image button again to import the other file. Place it and scale it the same way. Now there we are, so we've got a nice measurement that's the same, 3.65, so let's go straight to scale, click my 2 points, and then type in the new measurement, 3650. Click and drag, but then before I pin it, I want to line this up with the ground floor. So luckily this building's fairly rectilinear, but let's see, the walls, the same thickness. Yeah, I think I might use the outside face of the wall just to be safe. So I'm going to draw reference planes on the architecture tab, just using reference plane there, over the outer face of these walls. Again, just bearing in mind the line weight has probably moved that edge slightly. So not right on the edge, just slightly inside, just allowing for the line weight there. And again, another one going this way. Don't just to do every wall, but all the main walls. So I definitely want to get this one here. And then let's see what's happening on level 1. Well, it doesn't go that far back anyway. So that's probably enough. And so I can select those, select the image now, and then just by either dragging or nudging with the arrows, I can line up the corner there. That should be, well, yeah, that's probably as close as I can make it, and I can also check there that the width is right, so that lines up pretty well. And so now I can pin that. And that's it, and then you can use the same process as before, so measuring these walls now. So that one, well again, 350. So just using the wall tool. Oh no, sorry, I've gone a bit too far. I'll just, before I do that, do one more thing in the elevation view. So I meant to show you that we can see those reference planes. Of course, if I draw a reference plane on the diagonal, we won't see that. So if I draw one that should be at 45 degrees, that won't show up in any elevation view, but I'll put one here instead, or as well, to mark that main back wall, and there's probably an idea to have one here to mark that the extent of the building. And so now in the elevation views, if we go to south, I can see obviously the two that I saw earlier, but I can't see that diagonal reference plane because it's not perpendicular to the view. And north, I can see those same two reference planes. And in either of those views, I can adjust the length of those levels, which is a helpful thing, to make those the size of your building. Make them stick out a bit on each side because you need some room for the tags or the labels. And then going into the east and west elevations, I might need to extend levels a little bit. Maybe on this side we can bring it back a bit. And then in west you can see that's already done because those are mirror images. And so, oh yeah, and so finally, just before I draw the walls, back into the elevations, and it's not a bad idea to make a level for the roof. And oh yeah, so what I also want to show you there is that I can of course extend this reference plane up to the roof level easily just by stretching it in that south elevation. And the same if I go to the east and the west elevations, I can extend these reference planes because they're visible obviously in this view. But what's interesting is that if I go to that roof floor plan, notice how I can see all of those reference planes that I've extended through to that level, and I can adjust them there. But this reference plane that was drawn at an angle, I can't see that in the roof floor plan because it doesn't extend through that level, and there's no easy way of stretching that without making a new view. So sometimes it's easier just to delete that and then redraw it. After you've made a level, it'll automatically project a reference plane through that level. So here now, if I redraw that reference plane, now if I go to my roof floor plan, I can see it. Just one of those little tricks with Revit. So that's why it's important to just have a bit of a think about your main levels before you go too far drawing, especially things like reference planes and grids. And especially try to have your bottom, your lowest level and your highest level set up. And so now I can go back and actually continue with the walls like I was about to before. So if I go now to using the wall tool, just to go over that again, try and, for existing walls especially, use the simplest walls you can. So generic wall is a good starting point. and we need a 350 wall, so here again, edit type, duplicate, I'm going to call it existing 350 mil, I suppose wall. It's fairly obvious that it's a wall, but it doesn't hurt to put that in. And so there, all I'm going to change is the thickness there to 350 and leave the rest for now. And of course I can now set the height to the roof level that I've made. Location line I'll set to finish face exterior, since I've got reference planes on the exterior face. And then I can just draw clockwise, maybe starting from this corner here. And, well, that wall, part of it is a different thickness, but I think the main wall will be 350, so I'll just draw that all as one wall now and change the thickness of that part afterwards. Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so that's why, having the reference planes really helps a lot, just to get all those measurements worked out before you have to worry about the sort of wall it is. So here the wall is a different thickness, and also I probably should mark that with a reference plane as well, that wall there. And then I can make this a round number. So if you're not sure about the way these measurements come up, when you get a temporary dimension like that, you can use the grid to adjust where it's measuring to. So I can drag that over to the reference plane and now type in a number, and it's 2191. I think if I make it 2200, that's still on the edge there, so that's, I think, a good measurement. And now I can measure the wall here. So, well, 116. It's probably a 110 brickwork wall, maybe, or it's maybe timber framed actually. So maybe it could be 120. So again, just using that same wall type to start with, I can edit type, duplicate, and make it existing 120 wall. And then going from the corner here, again just tracing the reference planes. Here we've got another 350 wall, but again I'm just going to keep it with the wall type I've got, and then come back and adjust that afterwards. So like I showed you with the other project, I can change the view now to wireframe and then find, which basically just hides the hatch pattern and makes the wall completely see-through. And so then, just to finish off, I can use options like split on the modify tab, split element, and there just choose a point on the wall where I want to break it. Pressing escape, now I can select just the segment of the wall there on the right and change that to the other wall type, existing 350, which is pretty close. It may be that one is 300, so maybe I could make a new wall type for that as well. I'll do that right. And then again here, you can use the same method, just splitting that wall fairly roughly, choosing that point there, and then now just choosing that wall segment and changing it to existing 120mm wall. That looks pretty good. So that's an easy way of doing different wall thicknesses, and then looking at that in 3D, got a rough idea of the outside shell. And yes, I'll show you how you can bring the other references like satellite images and things like that afterwards, but that should be a good starting point, so I'll give some time to look at that.